Hello, my name is Callan Bond. I am the ITOM Services Portfolio Manager here at ServiceNow. I'm joined today by Ray DeGuire, who's a manager of ITOM Professional Services in the Americas. And we have a short video today to talk about how to use a service map. Service mapping is one of the more technically advanced products on the platform that involves a good deal of effort to get good service maps created. However, you can have the best service maps in the world. They can accurately reflect your services that your organization offers. However, if they're not used, they're not providing value. So we want to talk about what are some main use cases for using service map and how can that help speed up your incident resolution, make your change management go more smoothly. And if you are manually maintaining maps today, obviously we'll see a drastic reduction in effort, and we'll talk a little bit about that and how to measure those improvements that you'll see by actually using the service maps that are created. So in the video and deck, we're going to talk quickly about some service mapping terminology and how you get to having service mapping effectively implemented in your environment. Then Ray's going to talk about the main use cases and do some quick demonstrations of how you would use maps during incident management, change management, and we'll quickly touch on the event management health dashboard and how you can use those for preventative maintenance. This is not a step-by-step video though with exactly where to click and how to configure everything, but it is going to give you some good ideas on how you should be using service maps to get the most out of them and make sure that your IT infrastructure is really up and you're eliminating outages. Lastly, we're going to talk about some key performance indicators, mean time to resolution for incidents, how you should be measuring improvements to change as a result of service mapping, and how you can capture that manual effort reduction that you'll see by implementing service maps. So quickly, some terminology. Application service. We used to call this business service. We've changed to application service now. So that's a service offering that's delivered to customers. We often refer to it just as a service as well. So you may have an application service, which is an instance of an application based out of North America and the same application based out of Europe. That may be two separate application services. Technology services are the behind-the-scenes components. We often call those supporting or shared services. And then the service maps are made of configuration items or CIs, which are the fundamental elements of your CMDB. So they are the servers, the web servers, databases, all the individual components. Lastly, a cluster is a logical grouping of CIs. So how should you come to have a good set of service maps created in your platform? Well, service maps start with a healthy CMDB, and we find the best way to get those populated are through discovery. CMDB can be populated certainly through a number of ways. ServiceNow Discovery does a great job of getting all of the key attributes that you would want to see on your CIs populated, but it's certainly not the only way to get your CMDB populated. You want to run your CMDB health scorecard and resolve major issues. You're looking at the completeness and correctness, accuracy of the data in your CMDB. So again, you want to start from a healthy foundation. When you're choosing your initial services to get mapped, some factors to look at would be ones that have a high business value, so your critical services, ones that have had outages in the last 6 to 12 months. And lastly, if you have services that are similar to each other, they often leverage a lot of the same infrastructure, so they're easy to get subsequent services mapped once you do the heavy lifting of the first few. So those are all good guidelines to look at which services do you want to start with. I'm going to pass this over to Ray now to walk through using some service maps.
What you see on the screen now are three high-level examples of what we've seen a lot of customers using service mapping for. At the top there, incident management, change management, and preventative maintenance. We're going to go ahead and walk through each one of these very quickly. This isn't a how-to, as Callan put on earlier, but it is a show-off, so I'd like to show these off. We're going to start with incident management. Also how to diagnose a issue that may be on one of your service maps, and also using those incidents to help cause or look for the actual root cause of an issue on a service map. So when it comes to incident management, some of the things we're going to want to take a look at, and I'll show a little bit on a demo here, is how can you actually see the incidents from the map? How can you actually get to the map from the incidents? That'll help you decide on whether or not there's something already open against that map. Maybe you have a user that's calling in or emailing in saying they're having difficulties. A quick way so you don't have to actually open up multiple incidents is let's see if there's something already out there. We're also going to use this for the diagnostic part of this. So checking for recent changes on the service components, check for similar incidents on those service components. And then if you do have event management installed and implemented, we can use that to make sure that the service is being resolved, that any of those issues that may be tied to that service have been cleared up, and we'll show you that as well. So to start off here, as you can see, we have an open incident going on. We had somebody call in, and they're having some issues, and they saw that Tomcat was actually having some memory issues. What we can see from here is that the impacted CIs. So we can see that golf course tee time service is actually having an issue. So straight from the incident, we can go to the actual application service and go ahead and view the map. Once the map loads, we can actually see that there is something going on. We see here that there is an active incident against this CI. We can see the incident number, and we can see a brief description of what's causing that issue and why it was open. We can also see them on a more broad scope. So if there are several incidents open, by just clicking down here, you'll see a list of all the ones that could be affected. So the incidents will show down here. Clicking on the incident here will actually highlight which one it's actually affecting on your map to give you an idea of what's going on. So if there are multiple incidents currently open against this service or any of the CIs on this service, you can see them down here. A quick click will highlight them on the map. Now let's take this from the other direction. Somebody calls in or emails in and says, hey, I'm having an issue with the golf course tee time service. It's not loading, or I'm having slow response time, something's not right. You can go directly to the map and work it backwards. So as you can see, if I didn't even know there was an incident open and I opened up the service, I can quickly see that, yep, we know that there's something going on. We know that there's a memory issue because we can see the incident down here, and we can inform the user that it is being looked at and we are aware of it, allowing us to be more proactive versus reactive. Now, in terms of change management, what phases are we going to use the map for there? So one of the first things we want to make sure is let's see if there's any potential conflict with a change window. Maybe we want to make a change to a very specific CI, but without the use of service mapping, we don't really know what parts in our infrastructure that CI could be used for. It may only affect one CI, one service, or it may affect 10 of them. So by using service mapping, we can actually take a look and see what's actually going to be affected by that. We can make sure that we are planning for these things, making sure the individuals and the service owners know what's coming. And again, whether it's one service or 10 or 20 or whatever, we need to make sure that everybody that needs to know is know. And again, if you do have event management implemented, we can make sure that things are being updated so that when a change does occur, we can check the map after that change occurs, let it rerun, and verify that the changes actually took place. So I'm preparing myself to make a change, and I know that this is actually the server that I'm going to make my change on. So instead of just going off and saying, this change is only going to affect this one service, what we can do, because we have these mapped out now, and we have those relationships built in the CMDB, we can use our dependency view. So right-clicking on the CI and clicking on dependency view will show a map like this. So this is all the relationships that are connected here. And again, as we saw in the last one, you can see there are open incidents and so forth. So what we can do from here is make a conscious effort and an impact and urgency that this change might be. So by clicking up on the details here, we can get some additional information about the CIs that appear on this map. All the alerts that may be on it, this is from event management. Any incidents that are currently open on any of these CIs, you can see we do have one currently there, and any of those related services. So if there are any CIs on this map that are connected to any of your current application services, then we can see them here. And by simply doing a click, we can see all the highlighted pieces of those services. So as you can see, Joe's Bait Shop service is going to be highly impacted by a change. Both the server itself, the application is affected, there's upstream and several downstream connections that need to be taken into account. Clicking on another service, maybe like HR site here, you can see again, we still have some additional CIs that are part of all of these services. The one we just came from, obviously we're going to have some CIs there. Something like this map, dinner reservations. As you can see, there's some upstream ones, but the actual application and the actual server itself aren't quite as affected by this. So we can take that into account and say, for dinner reservations, it's probably not going to be as big as an urgency or an impact. And then, of course, if we have something like a little test one that I created here, we have one very small CI that's going to be affected. And we can make a call on that on whether or not the impact needs to be adjusted because of that. The third one that we're going to talk about is preventative maintenance and making sure you're strategically planning your next steps. So one of the first things we want to take a look at is service availability. Obviously, if that service is down, it doesn't really do you much good. So we want to be able to track those types of things. We want to also leave it open for the event dashboard. Again, this is event management, but it's worth showing here. Your service owners can actually proactively check the status of their current services. We have several customers that use this as a big area for their NOC, where they can just watch these things happening, whether they're from alerts coming in, incidents open up, and so forth. And then also for future planning. So making sure people are actually planning what's happening, moving. If you're going to be moving to a new data center, things like migrations, that's other things you want to be able to have these maps in place so that you can take a look at that. So here you can actually see the event management dashboard. Again, this comes with event management, but paired with service mapping, it is a humongous feature that you can take advantage of. So here we see we actually have 4 services that I currently have set up: dinner reservations, golf course tea time, our HR site, and a Joe's Bait Shop site. What I can do from here is actually see if there's anything currently going on with my services. So as you can see down here, an alert came in, and it came in from SolarWinds. And we know that there's now an issue, and it's causing problems. So which services are actually affected by these problems? All the ones that currently are matching colorless severity. So we can see that our golf course tea time does in fact have an alert against it. Let's go take a look. Once the map comes up, we can clearly see where the alert is actually affected. We have the color code on it, as well as at the bottom of the screen here, we have tabs for these things. You can see all the alerts on the map are shown down here. If we click on an individual CI, we'll see if there are any alerts against it. And obviously with the color to color, we know there's something going on there. So let's say we click on the Oracle listener here. No alerts. So we know that there's nothing going on there. So now that we can see all the alerts that are there, one of the things we want to be able to track is, okay, how often are these alerts happening? That's going to affect our availability. Simply with a quick look up here, we can see how long this actual alert has been active and how long this service has been affected. You may see chunks of color changes up here. You may see all green. All green obviously means good. If you're seeing a lot of orange popping up or a lot of red, which would be something like a critical alert coming in, that would be something you'd want to take a look at. These can all be modified by the time frame that you're actually looking at. So by the hours, you can see for at least the last hour, we've had some issues on this server. By days, weeks, months, and so forth. Another thing that we can do with this is we can actually do a comparison between them. So as you can see here, we do have an availability issue. We have a major alert on this services that needs to be rectified. But let's go see what was going on before this. So we can just do a simple click here, and it brings our time frame behind, back when we were still in the green. And look, our map is actually different. We actually have a Tomcat service that was actually running here. And as soon as we went to our issue popping up, suddenly that piece is gone, and we have an alert spun up. So maybe we need to take a deep look into what caused that change, who made that change, and why it was there.
All right, that was awesome. So let's take a look at some of the key performance indicators. So with all of the KPIs, one of the important things that you'll want to do is to get a baseline of these before you implement service mapping. It's a great way to show the value that service mapping is delivering. Or if it's not, you can do a little bit of a deep dive and try and figure out why that you've successfully implemented these maps are you not seeing an improvement where the rubber really meets the road, which is in mean time to resolve or mean time to diagnose is one of the main KPIs that should see a boost from successful service mapping implementation. And so the difference between time to resolve and time to diagnose really is getting the incident to the right team. So service mapping really does, as we've just seen from Ray, really does provide a great tool set to make sure you can identify the issue quickly on the right CI. And from that, you should be able to send it to the right team to get things fixed. That said, if there's a bug in the code, service mapping isn't necessarily going to find that bug for you. But it is going to get it to the right team rather than have that all hands on deck scramble, which I'm sure many of us have been a part of when there is a major incident. So identifying those metrics before, and you'd want to do them on a subset of your critical services, and obviously services that you're going to have service maps created for. Running the reports, there are some out of the box reports for mean time to resolve you can use. You can also go a little deeper and try and track the time from when the incident was raised to when it was assigned to the team that ultimately successfully resolved the incident. You're going to want to scope that to not all incidents, but obviously only to the criticals or high severity incidents. Make sure that if you're capturing service requests as incidents in your system, which many of our customers do, that you're excluding those. And you can also determine your own rules if tickets should be paused or not. And many customers have their own reasons why they would pause the timing on that. Set a target for improvement. So if your time to diagnose for a critical incident is at a number of hours during your baseline, you can see we want to reduce that by a certain percentage. The next one is outages caused by change. So because your change management planning is going to be better with service maps, as Ray showed us, we're going to be able to easier understand the full impact of making changes to certain CIs. You should see fewer major incidents, major outages caused by your own plan changes. So again, to baseline this, you need to go back and understand which of your major outages were in fact caused by change. And so for some customers, that's a bigger challenge than others. That really is going to be up to you to have that analysis done. Recommend a good 6 months, if possible, prior to service maps being implemented as a baseline. You may have specific criteria on what constitutes a failed change or a outage caused by a failed change or an improperly planned and executed change. For your improvements, you want to look at a percent. If you can do the analysis of which outages were caused by poor visibility, so for example, not having the right people approve the change or unintended CIs coming down because of a patch or a fix done on a different piece of infrastructure, those are the best ones to target, and those are the ones that you should see a definite improvement in. Lastly, a self-evident one is manual effort. So again, many organizations will be creating service maps today manually. That is something that you would just, again, have to track as a baseline yourself, whether you have time codes where people would charge that to, or more likely, they just will estimate that it takes them X hours per week to manually keep these maps up to date. You can then run a very simple calculation. You can compile your total manual effort associated with maintaining those maps. Again, you can set an actual target for improvement. These you should see a significant improvement, and you should also have more accurate maps. Once these are mapped and automatically maintaining themselves, you're going to see a lot of improvement in this area. It's great to track it and report on that. Thank you very much for your attention. If you'd like more information, you can always go to our doc site for more technical information on service mapping and event management. Go to the community, reach out to your peers and the ServiceNow experts there. And you can always reach out to your account exec or services exec and get in touch with us here at ServiceNow for more information. Thank you very much.